The Galactic Crisis. In the vast expanse of the Milky Way, the year 2157 marked a turning point for humanity. As Earth's first faster-than-light ship, the ESS Pathfinder, breached the boundaries of our solar system, it stumbled upon a truth both exhilarating and terrifying. We were not alone. Captain Elena Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the Pathfinder, her dark eyes fixed on the viewscreen. The sleek, crystalline ships of the Galactic Council hung in space before them, a breathtaking sight that belied the gravity of the situation. "They're hailing us again, Captain," Lieutenant Amir Kauri reported, his fingers dancing over the holographic interface. Elena took a deep breath. "Put them through." The screen flickered, revealing the alien visage of Ambassador Zixel, a being of shimmering, iridescent scales and multifaceted eyes. "Captain Rodriguez," the translator rendered its clicks and whistles into English. "The Council grows impatient. We require your species' decision." Elena's jaw tightened. It had been mere weeks since humanity's introduction to the galactic community, and already they faced an impossible choice. "Ambassador, with all due respect, you're asking us to commit to a war we know nothing about. We've only just learned of your existence, let alone the threat you face." Zixel's scales rippled in what Elena had come to recognize as frustration. "The Void Swarm approaches, Captain. Every cycle we delay is a cycle lost. Your species has shown remarkable adaptability. The Council believes you may be the key to our survival." The weight of those words hung heavy in the air. Elena glanced at her crew, seeing the mix of fear and determination on their faces. Humanity, barely united on its own planet, was being asked to defend a galaxy. "We need time, Ambassador. Time to consult with our leaders, to prepare our people." "Time is a luxury we do not have," Zixel countered. "The swarm has already consumed 3 star systems in the Outer Rim. They are unlike anything we have faced before, a hive mind of synthetic and organic parts, driven by an insatiable hunger for resources and life itself." As if on cue, a junior officer called out, "Captain, we're receiving a data packet from the Council ships. It's footage from the Outer Rim attacks." "On screen," Elena ordered, bracing herself. The view screen came to life with scenes of horror. Planets crumbled under the onslaught of the swarm, their surfaces crawling with metallic insects that stripped them bare. Defenders, both organic and machine, fell before the tide of destruction. It was a nightmare made real, spreading across the stars. Elena felt her blood run cold. This was beyond anything humanity had ever faced. Yet, as she watched the futile defense of the Outer Rim worlds, a part of her mind, the part trained through years of tactical simulations and historical study, began to analyze, to see patterns and weaknesses. "Ambassador," she said slowly, her mind racing, "your forces, they fight with honor, predetermined engagement protocols. Why?" Zixel's response held a note of confusion. "It is the way of the Galactic Accord. All conflicts are governed by strict rules of engagement, ensuring minimal collateral damage and civilian casualties. It is how we've maintained peace for millennia." Elena couldn't hide her disbelief. "And you're using the same tactics against this swarm, an enemy that clearly doesn't abide by any rules." "We must uphold our principles, Captain. Otherwise, what separates us from the monsters we fight?" In that moment, Elena understood why the Council had turned to humanity. They needed something the civilized galaxy had forgotten: the harsh lessons of unrestricted warfare. "Ambassador, I need to speak with my superiors immediately, and I need all the data you have on the swarm and your military capabilities." Zixel hesitated. "Captain, I must warn you. The Council has observed your species' history, your conflicts, your brutality. It is why we believe you may succeed where we have failed. But know this, if we unleash you upon the galaxy, there may be no going back. The peace we've known may be forever changed." Elena met the alien's gaze unflinchingly. "With all due respect, Ambassador, it seems that peace is already lost. The question now is whether there will be anything left to save. As the Pathfinder prepared to return to Earth with its urgent message, Elena couldn't shake the feeling that humanity was about to step onto a stage it had never imagined, armed with a terrible purpose. The galaxy had come seeking salvation, but they might instead find something far more primal: humanity's capacity for ruthless survival. The journey back to Earth was tense, filled with preparations and debates. Elena spent hours poring over the data provided by the Council, her mind reeling at the scale of the conflict they were about to enter. The swarm's tactics were relentless, unpredictable, and utterly without mercy. In contrast, the Council's forces seemed almost naive in their adherence to predetermined battle plans and ethical constraints. As they approached Earth, Elena prepared her report for the United Earth government. She knew her words would shape the course of human history. The fate of not just their world, but countless others, hung in the balance. The Pathfinder docked at the orbital station, and Elena made her way to the emergency session of the UEG. As she entered the chamber, filled with the leaders of Earth's nations, she felt the weight of expectation pressing down upon her. Captain Rodriguez, the Secretary General, greeted her, his face grave. "We've reviewed your preliminary report. Please, tell us what we're facing." Elena took a deep breath and began to speak. She told them of the Galactic Council, of the looming threat of the Void Swarm, and of the desperate plea for humanity's aid. As she spoke, she saw the expressions of the leaders change from disbelief to horror to grim determination. "And what do you recommend, Captain?" the Secretary General asked as she concluded her report. Elena's voice was steady as she replied, "We fight, sir, but not by their rules. The galaxy needs what humanity has never forgotten, that in a true fight for survival, there is no such thing as a fair fight." The chamber erupted into debate, but as Elena watched, she saw a terrible resolve forming in the eyes of Earth's leaders. Humanity had been challenged, and it would answer, not with the restrained tactics of the Galactic Council, but with the full, unleashed fury of a species that had clawed its way up from the mud to touch the stars. The age of humanity's innocence was over. The galaxy was about to learn why Earth had never known lasting peace, and why that harsh truth might be its salvation: the human approach. The next 6 months saw Earth transform. The revelation of alien life and the impending threat of the Void Swarm galvanized humanity like nothing before. Old rivalries were set aside as nations pooled their resources and knowledge. The United Earth Defense Force, UEDF, was formed, combining the best military minds and technologies from across the globe. At the heart of this unprecedented mobilization was General Alessandra Chen, a veteran of the Resource Wars, and now the newly appointed Supreme Commander of the UEDF. She stood in the war room of the UEDF headquarters, surrounded by holographic displays of ship designs, weapon schematics, and battle simulations. "We need to think beyond conventional warfare," Chen addressed her assembled staff. "The swarm doesn't fight like us, doesn't think like us, so we sure as hell can't fight them like the Council does." Colonel Viktor Petrov, head of R&D, stepped forward. "We've been analyzing the Council's tech, General. It's advanced, but constrained. They've had peace so long they've forgotten how to innovate for war." Chen nodded grimly. "Then we'll remind the galaxy what real warfare looks like. What's the status on Project Prometheus?" Dr. Yuki Tanaka, lead scientist of the project, brought up a hologram of a massive ship unlike anything in the Council's fleet. "The prototype is nearly complete, General. By reverse engineering the Council's FTL drives and combining them with our most advanced AI systems, we've created something unprecedented." The ship in the hologram was a behemoth, bristling with weapons. But it was the core that drew everyone's attention. A pulsing, almost organic-looking heart of the vessel. "The biomechanical AI core," Dr. Tanaka explained, "allows the ship to adapt in real time, learning from the swarm's tactics and evolving its own strategies. It's as close to a thinking weapon as we've ever come." A murmur ran through the room. They all understood the implications and the risks of such technology. General Chen's eyes never left the hologram. And the Ethics Committee? Colonel Petrov snorted. They've raised concerns, of course. But given the circumstances, they've been overruled. Chen finished. Good. We can't afford to pull our punches, not with the fate of the galaxy at stake. As the meeting continued, strategies were outlined that would have been unthinkable months ago. Planetary bombardment, weaponized bioengineering, AI-driven combat drones that could match the swarm's adaptability. Nothing was off the table. Meanwhile, in orbit above Earth, the first ships of the UEDF fleet were taking shape. Unlike the elegant, almost artistic designs of the Council vessels, these were brutally functional. Warships in the truest sense, built not for peacekeeping, but for unleashing unprecedented destruction. On the diplomatic front, Earth's representatives to the Galactic Council found themselves walking a fine line. Ambassador Marcus Lee stood before the Council, his calm demeanor masking the weight of his words. Esteemed members of the Council, he began, humanity is honored by your trust in us. We've reviewed the data on the Void Swarm, and we're prepared to join the fight. However, he paused, meeting the gaze of each council member. We must be clear. Our methods may not align with your traditional rules of engagement. Murmurs of concern rippled through the chamber. Ambassador Zixel, Earth's first contact, spoke up. Ambassador Lee, surely you understand the importance of the Galactic Accord. It has maintained peace for millennia. Lee's expression remained impassive. We understand, Ambassador. But with all due respect, the Void Swarm cares nothing for your accords. They're fighting to exterminate all life. In such a fight, adherence to rules of engagement is a luxury we cannot afford. You propose unrestricted warfare, another council member asked, aghast. We propose doing whatever is necessary to ensure the survival of sentient life in this galaxy, Lee countered. The choice before us is simple. Evolve our tactics or face extinction. As the council chambers erupted into heated debate, Lee stood firm. He knew that back on Earth, the war machine was already in motion. Humanity had made its choice. In the shadows of Jupiter's moons, the first trials of the UEDF's new weapon systems were underway. The tests were brutal, pushing the boundaries of what was thought possible or ethical. But with each success, humanity's confidence grew. General Chen watched the test footage with grim satisfaction. A swarm of combat drones had just decimated an asteroid field, their swirling attack patterns eerily reminiscent of the Void Swarm itself. Send the data to the Prometheus, she ordered. Let's see how the AI adapts it. As the orders were carried out, Chen turned her gaze to the stars. Soon, very soon, humanity would make its debut on the galactic stage, and it would not be the entrance the Council was expecting. Back on Earth, in cities and towns across the globe, recruitment centers were overwhelmed. The threat of the Void Swarm had awakened something primal in humanity, a burning desire to prove themselves, to fight not just for their own survival, but for their place in the cosmos. In training grounds worldwide, soldiers drilled with a fervor that shocked even hardened veterans. They were preparing not just their bodies, but their minds for a war unlike any in human history. Dr. Emmanuel Roux, head of the UEDF's Psychological Warfare Division, addressed a group of elite operatives. The swarm may be a hive mind, but that doesn't mean it's invulnerable to fear. We'll use every tool at our disposal, biological, technological, psychological, to break their will to fight. As she spoke, screens behind her displayed prototype fear beacons, devices designed to broadcast signals that could disrupt the swarm's neural networks, sowing confusion and terror in their ranks. In orbit, the Prometheus neared completion. Its AI core, fed a constant stream of data from war games and simulations, was evolving at an exponential rate. Some of the scientists working on the project had begun to regard it with a mix of awe and fear, unsure if they were creating humanity's salvation or its doom. As the day of deployment drew near, General Chen called one final meeting of Earth's leaders. The mood was tense, filled with the weight of what they were about to unleash. Once we cross this line, Chen said, her voice steady, there's no going back. We will change the face of warfare in this galaxy forever. Are we prepared for the consequences? The Secretary General of the UEG spoke for them all. We've spent our entire history fighting amongst ourselves, General. Now we fight for something greater, the right of all sentient life to exist free from extinction. Whatever the cost, whatever it takes, we must prevail. As the meeting adjourned, humanity stood on the brink of a new era. They were about to show the galaxy why, despite their brief time among the stars, they had been chosen as its defenders. The Void Swarm was advancing, consuming world after world. But soon, very soon, it would face an enemy unlike any it had encountered before. Humanity was coming, and with them, they brought the distilled essence of every conflict, every struggle for survival their species had ever faced. The galaxy was about to learn that in the fight for survival, there is no such thing as a fair fight. And humanity, they were masters of unfair fights. First contact and confrontation. The vast emptiness of space shimmered as the UEDF fleet dropped out of FTL on the edge of the Arcturus system. At its head, the Prometheus dwarfed even the largest of the accompanying warships, its hull gleaming with an almost predatory sheen. On the bridge of the Prometheus, Admiral Kira Volkov stood rigid, her steely gaze fixed on the tactical display. The Void Swarm had been detected in this system just hours ago, and already 2 of its 5 inhabited planets were dark, their defenses overwhelmed. All ships, battle formations, Volkov ordered, her voice calm despite the tension thrumming through the ship. Prometheus I, initiate combat protocols. A smooth, genderless voice responded. Combat protocols initiated, Admiral. Analyzing swarm patterns and adjusting strategies in real time. As the fleet moved into position, they caught their first glimpse of the enemy. The Void Swarm lived up to its name, a seething mass of biomechanical monstrosities that blotted out the stars. Individual units ranged from fighter size to massive capital ships, all moving with a horrifying synchronicity. By all that's holy, someone whispered on the bridge. Volkov's expression hardened. Calm. Patch me through to the fleet. As the channel opened, she spoke, her voice resonating through every ship in the UEDF Armada. This is Admiral Volkov. You've all seen the briefings. You know what we're up against. But know this, where the Galactic Council saw an unstoppable force, we see a challenge. Where they saw the end, we see a new beginning. Today, we show the galaxy why humanity was chosen for this fight. No mercy, no hesitation. For Earth, for all sentient life. Attack. The human fleet surged forward, and the battle was joined. Immediately, it became clear that this was unlike any engagement the galaxy had ever seen. Where the Council's forces had fought with precision and restraint, the humans attacked with controlled chaos. Swarms of AI-driven drones, mirroring the Void Swarm's own tactics, darted between larger ships, confusing sensors and disrupting formations. The Prometheus, guided by its evolving AI, adapted its strategy in real time, countering the swarm's moves almost before they were made. On the planet Arcturus II, the ground battle raged. Drop pods streaked through the atmosphere, delivering elite UEDF shock troops directly into the heart of swarm-controlled territories. These soldiers, encased in powered armor that blurred the line between man and machine, fought with a ferocity that shocked even their alien allies. Colonel Yuki Chen, leading the ground assault, activated her suit's fear beacon as her team pushed into a swarm hive cluster. The effect was immediate and terrifying. Swarm units began to twitch and spasm, their hive-mind connection disrupted by signals that played on fears buried deep in their biological components. Push forward, Chen roared, her pulse rifle spitting death. Show these bastards what happens when they threaten humanity. In orbit, the space battle had devolved into a maelstrom of destruction. Human ships, taking horrific damage, continued to fight long past the point where Council vessels would have retreated. The Void Swarm, for the first time, found itself facing an enemy as adaptable and relentless as itself. Admiral Volkov, blood trickling from a cut on her forehead, barked orders as the Prometheus executed a maneuver that would have torn a lesser ship apart. Concentrate fire on Sector 7. Prometheus, initiate Protocol Omega. The AI's voice remained calm. Protocol Omega initiated. Be advised, Admiral, this may have unforeseen consequences. Noted, Volkov growled. Do it. The Prometheus's hull began to glow, energy building to impossible levels. Then, with a flash that momentarily outshone Arcturus's sun, it released a wave of destructive force that rippled through spacetime itself. Swarm ships caught in the blast simply ceased to exist, reduced to their component atoms in an instant, but the effect didn't stop there. The fabric of space itself seemed to warp and twist, creating a maelstrom that began to pull in everything nearby. All ships, fall back. Volkov ordered. We've opened a rift. As the UEDF fleet retreated to a safe distance, they watched in awe and horror as a significant portion of the Void Swarm was drawn into the spatial anomaly, vanishing from sensors. For a moment, silence reigned on the bridge of the Prometheus. Then, slowly, a ragged cheer began to build. They had done it. They had faced the swarm and not just survived, but dealt it a crippling blow. But Volkov's expression remained grim. Damage report, she demanded. The cost had been high. Nearly a third of the human fleet was destroyed or crippled. One of Arcturus's moons had been shattered in the battle, its debris now forming a deadly ring around the planet. And the spatial rift, still swirling angry and dark, showed no signs of closing. As the immediate threat subsided, the true impact of what had transpired began to sink in. Humanity had saved the Arcturus system, but in doing so, they had changed the face of galactic warfare forever. On Arcturus Prime, the capital planet of the system, the Galactic Council observation team watched the aftermath with a mixture of relief and horror. Ambassador Zixel turned to his human counterpart, his multifaceted eyes unreadable. You've won the day, Ambassador Lee, Zixel said, his voice a mix of awe and fear. But at what cost? The weapons you've unleashed, the tactics you've employed, they go against everything the Galactic Accord stands for. Lee met the alien's gaze steadily. With respect, Ambassador, the Accord was not written with an enemy like the Void Swarm in mind. We did what was necessary to save lives. And in doing so, you may have started something that cannot be stopped, Zixel countered. The Council will have questions, grave questions. As if to punctuate Zixel's words, another explosion blossomed in orbit, the last remnants of the swarm forces being mopped up with ruthless efficiency. Lee watched the display, his expression unreadable. We'll answer those questions, Ambassador. But for now, we have a victory to secure and a galaxy to defend. Humanity is here to stay, and the rules of engagement, well, they've just changed. As news of the battle spread across the galaxy at FTL speeds, reactions varied wildly. Some hailed humanity as saviors, while others viewed them with growing unease. One thing was certain: the galaxy would never be the same again. And somewhere in the vast, cold depths of space, the remnants of the Void Swarm regrouped, adapted, and prepared for the next encounter with this new and terrifying enemy. The war was far from over, and its true cost was yet to be determined. Galactic repercussions. The aftermath of the Battle of Arcturus sent shockwaves through the galactic community. As news spread of humanity's tactics and the devastating power they had unleashed, reactions ranged from awe to horror. The Galactic Council, once united in its desperation against the Void Swarm, now found itself divided over how to respond to their new defenders. In an emergency session of the Council, heated debates raged for days. Ambassador Lee stood before the assembly, unflinching in the face of accusations and demands for explanation. "You've violated every tenet of the Galactic Accord," thundered Councillor Vexthor, his crystalline form shimmering with agitation. "The weapons you've employed, the very tactics. They're unconscionable. Lee's voice remained calm, but there was steel beneath his words. And yet, Counselor, the Arcturus system stands. Billions of lives were saved. Can your accord claim the same success against the swarm? Before Vexthor could retort, Ambassador Zixel intervened. While the methods are concerning, we cannot deny the results. The Void Swarm has never before suffered such a defeat. The chamber erupted into chaotic argument. Some council members called for sanctions against Earth, while others argued for unrestricted support of human military efforts. Through it all, Lee stood firm, a living embodiment of humanity's resolve. As the council debated, the galaxy watched and waited. Footage of the battle, leaked by unknown sources, spread across inhabited worlds. The sight of human ships fighting long past the point of conventional surrender, of weapons that distorted the very fabric of space-time, both terrified and inspired. On 1,000 worlds, in 1,000,000 homes, people of all species gathered around view screens, watching in awe as humanity changed the face of warfare. For some, it brought hope. At last, a force that could stand against the swarm. For others, it sparked fear. What would happen if these humans ever turned their terrifying capabilities against the rest of the galaxy? Back on Earth, the mood was one of grim satisfaction, tinged with the weight of sacrifice. Memorial services were held for the fallen, their names etched into monuments that reached towards the stars they had died defending. But even as they mourned, humanity prepared for the battles to come. In the war room of UEDF headquarters, General Chen pored over reports from the Arcturus engagement. "The swarm will adapt," she muttered, her eyes never leaving the holographic displays. "We need to stay ahead of them." Dr. Tanaka, still shaken from the unprecedented power displayed by the Prometheus, nodded in agreement. "The AI is processing the battle data. It's learning at an exponential rate. But there are ethical concerns. Some of the strategies it's proposing." Chen's gaze snapped to the scientist. "Doctor, we're fighting for the survival of all sentient life. Ethics are a luxury we may not be able to afford." As if to underscore her words, an alert chimed. A hologram sprang to life, showing a region of space near the Arcturus rift. The swirling anomaly pulsed, and then something emerged. By all the stars, Chen breathed. What they were seeing defied easy description. Void swarm units, but twisted, changed. They had adapted not just to the weapons used against them, but to the very spatial distortion that had nearly destroyed them. "Get me the council," Chen barked. "They need to see this. Now." As the UEDF scrambled to respond to this new threat, ripples of the Arcturus battle continued to spread across the galaxy. On frontier worlds, far from the protection of the Council fleets, a change was taking place. Inspired by humanity's stand, local militias began to form, arming themselves with makeshift versions of Earth's weapons. In the shipyards of a dozen species, engineers pored over scraps of data from the battle, trying to reverse engineer human technology. The balance of power that had held for millennia was shifting, and fast. On Arcturus Prime, now a fortress world at the front lines of the war, Ambassador Lee met with a group of alien scientists and military leaders. They had come seeking insight, training, a chance to understand the force that had so dramatically changed the course of the war. "We're prepared to share our knowledge," Lee told them, his voice grave. "But understand this, once you start down this path, there's no going back. The galaxy as you knew it will cease to exist." One of the alien officers, a grizzled veteran of a dozen campaigns against the swarm, stepped forward. "With respect, Ambassador, that galaxy was already dying. You've given us a chance to build something new, something that can survive." As Lee began to outline humanity's strategies, a priority message came through. The Council had reached a decision. Despite the protests of some members, they were officially sanctioning Earth's methods. The Galactic Accord was being rewritten, with humanity's necessary ruthlessness enshrined as a principle of galactic defense. But even as the Council made its declaration, Reports were coming in from the fringes of known space. The Void Swarm, diminished but not defeated, was on the move again. And this time, they were not merely consuming. They were targeting, seeking out human colonies, human allies, with a single-minded purpose that chilled even the most hardened UEDF veterans. The swarm had recognized humanity as its true threat, its nemesis. The war was entering a new phase, one that would test not just humanity's martial prowess, but its very soul. As news of the swarm's new strategy spread, General Chen called an emergency meeting of Earth's leadership. The holographic chamber filled with grim faces, all aware of the weight of the moment. "We've changed the game," Chen began, her voice steady despite the fatigue evident in her eyes. "But in doing so, we've painted a target on our backs, on the backs of everyone who stands with us." The Secretary General nodded solemnly. "What are you proposing, General?" Chen's eyes blazed with determination. "We take the fight to them. No more defensive actions. We find the heart of the swarm, and we burn it out. Whatever it takes." As the leaders of Earth debated this new strategy, across the galaxy, eyes turned towards the blue-green world that had so suddenly and dramatically changed the course of history. Humanity had risen to the challenge, had proven themselves as defenders of the galaxy. But as the cost of that defense became clear, a question began to form in the minds of humans and aliens alike. In saving the galaxy from the Void Swarm, would humanity lose itself? And if it did, would the galaxy it fought so hard to protect be worth saving? The next phase of the war loomed, promising to be more brutal, more transformative than anything that had come before. Humanity stood at the precipice, ready to plunge into the depths of total war. The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see what would emerge from the crucible of conflict. A new galactic order. The war against the Void Swarm had entered its third year, and the face of the galaxy had changed beyond recognition. Humanity's influence had spread far and wide, bringing with it both salvation and transformation. On the bridge of the UEDF flagship Phoenix, the successor to the battle-scared Prometheus, Admiral Kira Volkov stood before a holographic display of the known galaxy. Red markers indicating swarm activity were fewer now, pushed back to the fringes of charted space. But the cost of this progress was etched in the lines on Volkov's face and the haunted look in her eyes. "Status report," she demanded, her voice hoarse from too many sleepless nights. Her XO, Commander Rajan Patel, stepped forward. "We've confirmed the destruction of 3 major swarm hive clusters in the Orion Spur. Admiral, the Arcturus Rift has been stabilized, and the Allied forces are pushing forward in the Cygnus Arm." Volkov nodded, allowing herself a moment of grim satisfaction. "And Project Oracle?" Patel's expression tightened. "It's operational, Admiral. But the ethical concerns were noted and overruled." Volkov cut him off. "Patch me through to General Chen." The holographic display shifted, revealing the war-worn face of General Alessandra Chen. The years of conflict had turned her hair gray, but her eyes burned with the same intensity as the day the war began. "Admiral," Chen greeted her. "I take it you've been briefed on Oracle." Volkov nodded. "It's a hell of a gamble, General. Are we sure we're ready to take this step?" Chen's expression was grim. "We don't have a choice. The swarm is adapting faster than ever. If we don't end this soon, we risk losing everything we'd fought for." Project Oracle was humanity's endgame, a culmination of everything they had learned and developed over 3 years of relentless warfare. It was a melding of human consciousness with AI technology, creating a hybrid intelligence capable of predicting and countering the swarm's movements with unprecedented accuracy. But it came at a cost. The human minds linked to the system would be forever changed, their individuality subsumed into a greater whole. It was a step that blurred the line between humanity and the very enemy they fought against. As the Phoenix and its battle group prepared to embark on the final offensive, guided by the newly activated Oracle, tensions across the galaxy reached a fever pitch. On Earth, protests erupted outside UEDF headquarters. "We've gone too far," the crowds chanted. "We're losing our humanity." Similar scenes played out on 100 worlds across the galaxy. Species that had once welcomed humanity as saviors now watched with growing unease as human methods and technology reshaped the cosmic order. In the Galactic Council chambers, now relocated to a heavily fortified station in neutral space, Ambassador Marcus Lee faced a barrage of questions and accusations. "Your Oracle project is an abomination." Councillor Vexthor raged. "You claim to fight for sentient life, yet you sacrifice the very essence of your own people." Lee stood firm, his resolve unshaken. "We do what we must, Councillor. The swarm would strip all of us not just of our individuality, but of our very existence. At least this way, we have a chance." As the debate raged, news came in from the front lines. The Phoenix and its battle group, guided by Oracle's preternatural insights, had struck at the heart of swarm territory. The offensive was like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. Human ships moving with impossible precision, anticipating and countering swarm tactics before they even formed. For 3 days and nights, the battle raged across a dozen star systems. Spatial rifts opened and closed, weapons of unimaginable power reshaped the very fabric of space-time, and at the center of it all, Oracle guided every move with cold, calculating efficiency. And then, suddenly, it was over. The swarm, its central intelligence shattered by a strike of such strategic brilliance that even the UEDF's top admirals struggled to comprehend it, began to disintegrate. Without the guiding hive mind, the remaining swarm units fell into disarray, becoming easy prey for the Allied fleets. As news of the victory spread, an uneasy silence fell across the galaxy. The threat that had united them, that had driven them to the brink of their own destruction, was gone. But in its place stood humanity, change, empowered, and more than a little frightening to their galactic neighbors. In the aftermath, as the dust of war began to settle, the true impact of humanity's actions became clear. They had saved the galaxy, yes, but they had also reshaped it in their image. The Galactic Accord, once the bedrock of interstellar law, had been rewritten. The Council, while still nominally in charge, now deferred to Earth on matters of security and defense. Human technology, born in the crucible of total war, had proliferated across the stars, igniting a new age of exploration and expansion. But questions remained. What would humanity do with its newfound power and influence? What had they become in their relentless pursuit of victory? On Earth, in the rebuilt halls of the United Earth Government, General Chen stood before the assembled leaders of humanity. Her uniform was adorned with medals, but her expression was solemn. "We've won the war," she began, her voice carrying to every corner of the chamber. "But our greatest challenge lies ahead. We must now win the peace." As Chen spoke of reconstruction, of healing the scars left by years of total war, screens around the chamber displayed scenes from across the galaxy. Humans and aliens working side by side to rebuild shattered worlds. The Phoenix, once an instrument of war, now leading missions of exploration into uncharted space. And in orbit around Earth, the Oracle station pulsed with energy, its hybrid intelligence now turned towards predicting threats to galactic peace. "We set out to save the galaxy," Chen continued, "and in doing so, we've changed it forever. The question now is, what kind of guardians will we be? Will we use our power to dominate or to protect, to conquer or to uplift?" As Chen's words echoed across the stars, carried by faster-than-light transmissions to every corner of known space, the galaxy held its breath. Humanity had proven itself as a force of nature, capable of facing down the greatest threat the cosmos had ever known. But in doing so, they had become something new, something that straddled the line between savior and potential conqueror. The war was over, but humanity's trial was just beginning. In the crucible of conflict, they had forged themselves into the guardians of the galaxy. Now they had to prove worthy of that mantle. As the sun set on Earth, casting a golden glow over a planet forever changed by its cosmic baptism of fire, The stars seemed to shine a little brighter. The galaxy was entering a new age, an age shaped by human ingenuity, human sacrifice, and human potential. The Void Swarm was defeated, but the echoes of humanity's resolute declaration still resonated across the cosmos. In the fight for survival, there is no such thing as a fair fight. And humanity, for better or worse, had proven themselves the undisputed masters of the unfair fight. The story of humanity's rise was far from over. In fact, it had only just begun.